Zhuge Ke was the eldest son of Zhuge Jin, and like his father, he was a military general and politician who served under Wu's founding emperor Sun Quan. He went on to serve as a regent for the successor to the throne Sun Liang, where he enacted a disastrous, aggressive foreign policy towards Cao Wei. Zhuge Ke was born in the year 203, where his reckless nature caused his father to repeatedly lecture him, and on one occasion he observed, "This child will either bring great honour to my household, or destroy it." There was a joke within Wu that his father had a very long face like a donkey's. An anecdote from Ke's childhood places him at one of Sun Quan's banquets, where a donkey was drawn in bearing a sign with Zhuge Jin's courtesy name written upon it. Zhuge Ke was asked to add 2 characters to the sign, so he added the donkey of just before, causing those present to burst out with laughter. Sun Quan was impressed with the witty child, so gifted the donkey to him. He grew into a loud-spoken man, about 6 foot tall with a crooked nose, wide forehead, large mouth, and with little facial hair and eyebrows. In another anecdote at a banquet, Sun Quan asked Zhuge Ke if he thought his father was better compared to his uncle Zhuge Liang. He said his father was better because he chose the right emperor to serve, therefore he must be of higher quality. Impressed by the subtle flattery, Chuan permitted Ke to serve wine to the other guests. As it was an honour for junior officials to serve wine to senior officials, Zhang Zhao refused. This isn't the proper ceremony to pay respects to an elder. He was dismissed back to Sun Quan, who challenged him to get Zhang Zhao to drink. Upon returning, he told him, "Long ago the great strategist went to war at the age of 90, holding a signal flag and battle axe, yet he never considered himself old. In days of trials by arms, you were always in the rear. In days of feasting, you're always in the front. What do you mean to say when this is no proper ceremony for me to pay my respects?" Zhang Zhao was at a loss for words, so he consented and accepted the wine offering. The king Sun Quan regarded Zhuge Ke even more highly after this incident, so consequently assigned him as a close aide for his eldest son. Chuan went on to set up a staff of officials for his crown prince Sun Deng in the year 221. It was composed of the sons of the key officials from his own government, plus many other well-known young talents. The 4 most prominent ones, Zhuge Ke, Zhang Xiu, Gu Tan, and Chen Biao, were treated like close friends by Sun Deng. 8 years later, Sun Quan declared himself emperor, so his son's 4 close friends were promoted to commandants under various titles. Secretary Hu Zhong wrote a commentary that Zhuge Ke was the most skillful and intelligent of his generation, while Sun Deng himself trusted Zhuge Ke and Gu Tan the most. He favoured them more than Fan Shen, Xi Jing, and Yang Hui. After Hu Zhong's commentary became public, he was privately cautioned about the group's shortcomings, where Zhuge was criticised as talented but neglectful. Around 5 years later, in 234, Zhuge Ke submitted a plan to suppress the Shanyue tribes in order to recruit around 40,000 locals as soldiers for Danyang. Most of the senior officials agreed with Zhuge Jin that the idea was too costly and too risky, as he reiterated, "If Ke does not bring great fortune to our clan, he'll bring great disaster instead." As soon as Ke insisted to Sun Quan that his plan would work, he was granted full authority to carry it out as Danyang's administrator and acting general who pacifies the Yue. Upon arrival, he sent letters out to the neighbouring 4 commanderies to secure their borders, then hold off from using any military force against the Shan Yue. For the next 3 harvest seasons, he gave orders to quickly stockpile it far away from the tribe's possible raid locations. Unable to pilfer, they were inevitably deprived of food, so many had no option but to surrender. He respectfully treated them kindly, so more and more joined in, and then by the year 237, Danyang was completely under Wu government's control, and had become a highly productive commandery for manpower and supplies. Zhuge Ke could now easily fulfill his quota of conscripting 40,000 local soldiers, whereafter he was assigned as general who awes the north. One time, a Shou ambassador showed up with horses for Sun Quan, who then summoned Zhuge Ke with the intention of gifting him one. When he arrived, he knelt down and thanked Sun Quan for the horse, surprising him. "Shou is only capable of serving as your majesty's stable. That's why I'm certain this ambassador came to offer a tribute of fine steeds." Sun Quan was impressed. In 241, the crown prince Sun Deng died, an event that appeared to mark the start of a decline in Sun Quan's mental health. It also left open the issue of succession, so the other son's relationship eventually deteriorated. When Lu Xun tried to intervene to protect Sun He, Sun Ba accused him of many crimes. Sun Quan became so provoked that he reprimanded Lu Xun repeatedly, making him very unwell. Later, in October of 243, Zhuge Ke positioned his forces in preparation for a major attack on Shu Chun. Sima Yi led an army from Luoyang to attack him at Wan, but after being told by Sun Quan not to give battle, he burned his supplies and retreated. Despite his withdrawal, he became famous among the people of Wu for willing to stand up to Sima Yi, but Lu Xun warned him about his recklessness. Zhuge Ke suspended his future plans in honour of the senior Lu Xun, but after his death Sun Quan ordered Ke to assume Lu Xun's role. He accepted his appointment as General-in-Chief, then moved to Wuchang in order to supervise military affairs in Jing province. In 251, when Sun Quan became critically ill, he sought a regent for his youngest son and new heir apparent Sun Liang. Under Sun Jun's recommendation, Zhuge Ke was recalled back from Wuchang to the capital Jianyi, despite the fact that Sun Quan thought he was too arrogant for the role. Upon his departure, the senior general Lu Dai told him, "What you'll be doing is a difficult task. Before you do anything, you should reconsider 10 times. Zhuge Ke replied, "Confucius told to only reconsider twice. You, sir, are telling me to reconsider 10 times. Are you not saying that I'm stupid?" Lu Dai did not respond, and indeed, Zhuge Ke became more arrogant after his appointment as regent. The dying Sun Quan instructed his subjects to let Zhuge Ke review all important policy decisions first, further feeding into his growing arrogance. During his short tenure as regent, he relaxed some of the strict laws enacted by Sun Quan's reign and reduced the tax rates. The people of Wu were very pleased with him. Wherever he went, there were massive crowds jostling to get a better view of him. He was appointed as Grand Tutor later that year in 252, then gave orders to rebuild the dam at Dongxing. His plan was to dig out a defensive reservoir to hinder the Wei invasions, then build 2 castles nearby as forward attack pieces to assist Wu ships. The Wei regent Sima Shi sent 3 separate attacks, with the main one focusing on Dongxing. Zhuge Ke and the veteran Ding Feng caught the enemy out here by pretending to lower their guard before inflicting a devastating defeat upon them. The very next year, Shu's Jiangwei coordinated an attack against Wei with Zhuge Ke's help. Ke said he wanted to take advantage of the 45-year-old Sima Shi's youth and inexperience, so planned another invasion of Shu Chun. He rallied an army from able-bodied men of Wu despite strong opposition from some officials, but his strategy proved to be flawed. He switched targets from Shu Chun to Hefei, even though the latter was better defended, so he failed to breach its walls. Sickness spread through the ranks after a long siege, but Zhuge Ke ignored it and pressed on with the attack. He only withdrew when news of Wei reinforcements arrived, but he didn't return to Jianyi to apologize for his mistake. He stayed away from the Wu capital for some time and refused to take responsibility for his defeat. Many people of Wu agreed that the earlier criticisms about Sun Deng's retinue of 4 were valid, but all of them eventually failed at politics. He returned to Jianyi later that year and immediately made plans for another invasion of Wei. The heavy losses from the last campaign gave rise to much resentment towards him though, so anyone that disagreed with him was punished in his effort to wipe out dissent. The very man who once recommended him, Sun Jun, decided to oust him from power. He lied to Sun Liang, telling him that Zhuge Ke was planning to usurp the throne from him, so he was granted permission to set up a trap. How much the 10-year-old emperor was involved is unclear, but he at least understood Sun Jun's words and approved of his actions. Upon entering Sun Liang's banquet in the imperial palace, Zhuge Ke was unaware of the threat. He met his end at the hands of Sun Jun's assassins, who reported their success. Sun Jun then had the Zhuge family members rounded up, then put to death. It wasn't until years later that Songzhi rehabilitated his status, then had him reburied with full honours.